Welcome back to Only Talk Sports, and tonight we have WillND back to preview and predict the Week 9 college football games, and we're also going to be recapping the Week 8 games as well. Those were some great games, a couple games I was not expecting to go the way that they did, but it is what it is, but can't wait to get into it. What are your first thoughts about our stream tonight, Will?
Well, Jeffrey, I feel bad for you, buddy, but yeah, I mean, pretty relaxing week sports-wise for me. I was busy in a lot of other ways, but yeah, just some great games. I was able to catch the end of the night games, and man, there were some crazy endings.
Yeah, cannot wait to get into it. There definitely were some classics. Jackson says, "What's up, College Football Nation? Appreciate you for being here, Jackson. It's going to be a fun one."
All right. Oh, crap. All right. Are we ready, Jeffrey, to talk about the games?
I'm definitely ready. I cannot wait. I mean, there were good
All right.
games. I mean, not as big of a week as some of the previous weeks, but still a lot of results that definitely matter in the college football world for sure. It's going to be awesome.
Can you click it? I'm not signed in. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right, we got it on board here. All those results.
And Michigan State had a little controversy. No, of course not because of their basketball team, because of something else, but their football team did look bad.
Oh, yeah, they got bludgeoned by Michigan. Everybody's getting beat to death by Michigan. I mean, that's why
maybe we know why, man. Maybe we know why.
Well, yeah, I know the scandal and everything. I don't even know what to say, so I can't really talk about that too much. But yeah, that's definitely something to behold. But everything besides that has been pointing toward Michigan being a really good football team, beating everybody by tons of points. And I just think that, until Michigan plays somebody, we don't really know how good that they really are until they play the Penn States and the Ohio States of the college football world. And if they get to the playoff, whoever they play, because that's the key. If you want somebody to believe in you, if you want a fan base like an Ohio State fan base or an Alabama fan base, or just really anybody in general in college football outside of a Michigan fan to believe in you, you have to win those big games. This is impressive, unless it does have something to do with the scandal that you mentioned, Will. But besides that, Michigan's been great. And Michigan's been playing great football, and we're just going to have to see if they are the best team or not coming up in a few weeks.
All right. Well, we saw that Penn State's certainly not the best team, as their offense was anemic against Ohio State.
Oh, yeah, they couldn't get anything going. It was hard to watch because, I didn't have a stake in this game. Just watching the game, the big noon kickoff, didn't care really who won. And I was like, is James Franklin going to get the job done? And Penn State's defense, to their credit, they showed out. I mean, they showed why that is a team on that side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball that's full of NFL talent. A lot of those guys are going to be playing on Sundays, and they held Ohio State, basically down the entire game until that last drive that Ohio State got to 20 points. But the offense just couldn't get anything going. And it just showed yet again that Penn State is not ready for the big stage. Drew Aller, he tried, but he couldn't really get anything going. In the ground game for Penn State, you've got two really good running backs, but they just never could establish the ground game, and that's why they lost. Ohio State wasn't the most impressive team in the world either, but they were a bit better on offense, and their defense was just as good as Penn State's.
I must say something as a biased Notre Dame fan. Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't do diggly squat against the Irish. Ben Morrison is the best cornerback in college football. He is the best cornerback in college football for what he's been doing against the best receivers that the Irish have gotten up against. He is freaking elite, man. He is number one, and he's only a sophomore, and he's coming back next year. I'm so excited to see what he can do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was really impressive, his performance and Notre Dame's defense in general. But also, I know it was week 1, but Indiana held Marvin Harrison Jr. to 3 receptions for 18 yards. So that was pretty impressive as well. But I know that if they played again now, he'd probably put up 150 yards on him. But still, I mean, to your point, Notre Dame did a good job. And, I mean, he had a lot of yards in the Penn State game, but I still believe Penn State did a good job overall on defense, even though they let Marvin Harrison get, a good amount of yards. But still, the offense just destroy Penn State's chances. Like Jackson said, 1 of 16 on third down. That's not going to get it done in any type of big game like that. Even if you're playing a bad opponent, it's not going to be enough. So it's going to be another year to see if Penn State can finally beat Ohio State, and they got a game against Michigan coming up that could possibly still keep them in the college football playoff race if they can win that one. But after losing this game, it would be hard to see them beating Michigan.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right. Well, Florida State beat Duke without Riley Leonard. With Riley Leonard, Duke, I mean, they may not be as talented, but they were fighting punch for punch. And looks like there's a very strong chance they would win that game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. I think that if Riley Leonard was able to play in this game, or if he was just healthy in general the entire season, Duke's probably, in a one-score game on this one. Even if they don't win, it's close. They played well. I saw some of this game, but, yeah, they just could not keep up. Florida State's really talented, but I do think that Florida State has shown cracks at times that maybe they're not, far and away the best team in the ACC or even possibly going to be a college football playoff team. We'll have to see. They're really good. That Boston College game was rough, and, I mean, they weren't super impressive in this one, but Duke is a good team, and I believe if Riley Leonard can come back for Duke, that would really help out, in their big game that they have next week. But we'll definitely talk about that one coming up. But, yeah, Duke just didn't have enough offense without Riley Leonard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Washington almost fell into the trap. They escaped. But, man, them in the Arizona schools, man, what's going on with them in the Arizona schools? Every time it's close.
What was this game, though? Michael Penix Jr. with 2 picks, no touchdowns. I mean, now is his Heisman chances destroyed?
He's still the betting favorite, I believe.
I think so, too. I mean, he's done so well, but that was a rough game against a poor opponent. But all that matters at the end of the day is that they won. They won the game, but the fact that they were at home, and they only beat a really bad team 15-7. Yeah, I mean, it's like Jacksonville, Washington had a hangover from the Oregon win. I mean, definitely, but still, they were favored by tons. Arizona State is not a good team. I mean, the only thing I guess is really impressive about this game is that they held Arizona State to 7. USC gave up 28 to Arizona State. Washington only gave up 7. If Washington's defense didn't play well, they would have lost. And I think that goes to show you that you have to have a defense that is capable of stopping the other team, especially when your offense isn't playing at their best. Because if Washington's defense was just as bad as USC's, they would have lost this game. So that's the key. You have to have a good defense when your offense isn't playing their best, and that's why Washington pulled it out despite playing horribly.
Mm-hmm. Another team that played horribly, Oklahoma.
Yeah, people talked about Oklahoma after the Texas win. Maybe they could be a CFP team. Maybe they're by far the best team in the Big 12. And maybe those things are still true. But UCF has been playing horribly lately. I mean, they got destroyed in their last game. And I mean, they gave up the comeback against Baylor. And, Gus Malzahn gets the contract extension. And things are just looking rough for him right now. And then they play like this. I mean, granted, John Rice Plumlee was back. That makes a difference because he did miss a game. But this still should have been down to a 2-point conversion going to overtime. Oklahoma should have won this game by at least 17, and it was on their own field. But I guess you would just say a mighty impressive performance by UCF. But I guess you can just say that when you're at the top and you play these close games, it matters that you come out on the winning side and you don't lose. But if Oklahoma wants to be perceived as a team that's, legitimately, a top 5 team possibly, or by far the best team in the Big 12, you can't have games like this. But they did win, so.
Another team that didn't have their best game was Texas.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, these teams won. We're about to get to a team that did not win, that should have won. But Texas won. Oklahoma won. To their credit, they weren't.
Houston almost tied it.
But they won.
Houston almost tied it, but it was like 4th down from like the 12. 4th and 8 from like the 12. They didn't get it. So
Yeah, it's crazy that they were this close. I mean, I'm not saying Dana Holgerson's making any brownie points or anything. I mean, his shit might already be sailed. I'm not sure what Houston's going to do with him. But, I mean, the West Virginia win was big, and they were competitive in this game. So they're playing better than they were at the beginning of the season. And Donovan Smith has been putting up a ton of yards for Houston at the quarterback position. He's been making some great throws, so we'll have to see how Houston does the rest of the season. But Texas definitely survived, and they're going to have to step up their A game if they want to, stay unbeaten the rest of the way and only have that Oklahoma loss and possibly have a shot to make the college football playoff.
And even though Cam Ward bounced back, it still was not enough to beat the Ducks.
438 passing yards is impressive, but only one touchdown. He didn't have, like 3 or 4 touchdowns. That, proved to be the difference. Oregon has a ground game. They did really good on the ground. They were pretty good through the air. So Oregon was just balanced and a little bit better defensively than Washington State. I think that's the biggest thing with Washington State. Their defense isn't good enough for these high-powered offenses, in the pack. Like even when they beat Oregon State, it was a 38-35 game. They just cannot slow down teams. Arizona scored 44 on them. I know that Washington State had a really bad game there, only scoring 6, but still, I think they're a decent team. They should make a bowl if they turn things around, if they start playing a bit better, but they're just kind of struggling to slow down the better offenses in the pack, and Cam Ward has to play, not basically Caleb Williams level good to win, but he has to play really well for Washington State to win games. That's just not a great sign for them.
And in the South's oldest rivalry, Virginia pulled off the upset. Jeffrey, what happened?
Yeah, I watched this entire game. I literally watched this
entire
football
game. You watched CW the whole time?
Basically the entire time except the commercials where I flipped to other games. I was fully invested in this game, and I shouldn't have to have been. I should have been able to watch ESPN or ABC, but no, I was watching the CW and watching Virginia do this to North Carolina. After North Carolina beats Miami, they're 6-0. They're ranked number 10 in the country, and I put on last week's thumbnail video of mine on the AP is North Carolina legit. And a week later, that proved to not be the case. North Carolina is not legit. They're a good team. They've got a talented quarterback, and they've got talent all over the field. I mean, Amari Hampton's a good back. Tez Walker's a good receiver, and they've got some good defensive players. But the defense was not good enough in this game, giving up 31 points to a team that has been abysmal on offense throughout the season. I will say that the only caveat, not to make excuses, is there's 2 things. One, Drake May got hit really hard early in this game, and I think he was slightly banged up the rest of the way. He did not look 100%. And I don't know why North Carolina wasn't picking up blitz packages. Like, they literally just kept rushing 6, and North Carolina was not leaving Omari and Hampton in the backfield to block. I don't know why they just kept having to go out to catch passes in the backfield, so Drake May was getting destroyed back there. And then another thing, when North Carolina was down late in the 4th, there was a blatant holding call on Virginia. Even the commentators mentioned the ref should have called it. It was clearly a hold that would have extended the drive and probably got North Carolina in touchdown scoring range. It doesn't matter, though. At the end of the day, North Carolina was horrible. They should have played a lot better if they wanted to prove that they were a legitimate team. But there were a couple of factors on why they lost, but still no excuses. This was just a poor performance, and it knocks North Carolina out of any chance of making the CFP.
You don't think they can win out?
I mean, if they can win out, I mean, they get up there, but do you really think that they put them back in the college football playoff conversation? Because their one loss was to Virginia. Even if they did win out, they'd probably only get up to like 7th or 6th in my mind. I don't think that, they would give them a chance to get back into the top 4. There's a chance they can win out. Their offense is good enough if Drake May can stay healthy to win out, but this was just terrible. I would have never thought this. I mean, like I said, I never trust North Carolina. I don't. Like when they played at Pitt, I thought that could have been the game. Miami, I thought could have been the game that they lost. Georgia Tech coming up, I thought could have been the loss, not this game. Never would have thought they lost this game. And kudos, Virginia gets their first top 10 win on the road ever. Ever. As a program, they got their first top 10 win on the road. Even Indiana has that. Even Indiana's done it before. But Virginia finally did it, so good for them. But, man, what a bad
Do you know
ball.
who Indiana beat?
I forgot, but I do know that they have beaten a top 10 team on the road. I think they've done it a long time ago, like back in the 60s. They might have beat Ohio State. I think they beat Ohio State in 67 when they were ranked higher, something like that. They've done it before. They've beaten a couple of top 10 teams on the road. Long time ago, though.
I know. I'm curious.
I know they have. I'm sure because I read it because I was very curious about it too when they said that. I know Indiana's done it. I wish I had the exact team.
Indiana was number 4. Well, they beat Purdue at home that year. Okay, I'm wasting too much time.
Yeah, I know. It's really interesting. I know.
Okay, well, okay. I'll move on. Alabama, first half was all horrible. Second half, they got their act together and won.
Yeah, Alabama, the first half was ugly. I mean, 20-7, they're down, and I'm legit worried a little bit because I was like, Tennessee has struggled on offense all season. Like against A&M, Milton only threw for like 160 yards in the entire game. Tennessee slinging it. I mean, my family was a bit worried. We were watching the game. We were like, oh no, is Alabama really going to lose, be out of the college football playoff conversation? I'm like, give it time. I think they'll come back around second half, and boy, did they. Complete turnaround. They flipped the script, and Nick Saban, whatever he said in the halftime locker room, it worked because the defense played fantastic. The offense got it together. I will say, Milroe, like we all know, is not perfect, but he does enough for Alabama to win most games. He does enough on the ground, through the air, and the run game for Alabama is getting better. The defense is better than it was last 2 seasons. Is Alabama a college football playoff team? I'm not sure, but there's a path for them to win out the rest of the regular season. They got LSU after the bye. Then they have at Kentucky and at Auburn. Those are winnable games. All of those games are winnable. Yes, you're going to have the SEC championship game, but Alabama's still in the conversation. So it's not like they've fallen off a cliff like Clemson has from the national conversation. But it was a good win for Alabama and a nice turnaround for them to beat the Volunteers.
And Hugh Freeze trying to get revenge on his old team. It's close, but no cigar.
Yeah, definitely. They did not have a cigar party like Alabama did against Tennessee. So they were not able to get the win. It was not a bad performance by Auburn. I watched a little bit of this game during the commercials of the Virginia-Carolina game, and I was like, Auburn looks okay. I mean, they're not playing great, but they're competitive. And I almost picked Auburn to win. If you remember last week, I was like, this is a trap game for Ole Miss. This is a tough game. Jordan Hare is always a tough place to play, but Lane Kiffin pulled it out. But Jackson Dart only threw for 202 yards. That was not impressive. Touchdown and pick, but Judkins had a good game on the ground. And Auburn just did not have enough offense, but I don't think that the Tigers are an awful team. I know Georgia isn't as good, but they were competitive against Georgia. They were competitive in this game. They just are not able to win right now. But maybe in the future, Hugh Freeze can get them there. But a nice win for Ole Miss, and they're still in the hunt in the West. If Alabama can drop a game or two, maybe they can still win the West. It's not likely, but Ole Miss is not a bad team this season.
And USC's defense, man.
Oh, man.
The cow farmer did it.
I know Tim was upset on After Dark last night, and it is absolutely nothing against his beloved Trojans. But USC has absolutely wasted Caleb Williams' time. I know he won the Heisman. I know he's going to be the first pick in the draft. And I know Lincoln Riley's made him look good. But when you have a quarterback that's that talented, you should be winning your conference. You should have a shot to win a national title. And USC is not doing those things. And why are they not doing those things? Because their defense is so bad that you literally have to have Caleb Williams play perfect football every single week for them to win. And you could just see it. If you saw Caleb Williams' eyes at the end of this game, when they showed him on the sideline, he looked absolutely dejected. He's probably irritated. He's probably frustrated because he's like, I'm on a team that we have so much talent, at least on offense, that we should be able to win a game like this. But we don't. We don't beat Notre Dame. We don't beat Utah. And Utah doesn't have Cam Rising. I mean, you do not have Cam Rising, and Utah still scores 34 points. USC gave up 28 to San Jose State, 41 to Colorado, 28 to Arizona State, and they gave up 40-plus points to Arizona. It's a common problem for USC, and Alex Grinch, it's not going to get done.
He's gone. He's got to be gone now after this.
He's not getting the job done, and unfortunately, Caleb Williams is not going to be back next season. So USC is going to have to try to win with a better defense in the future and probably a less talented quarterback unless they can somehow
Malachi Nelson's pretty hyped up. So we'll see.
I agree, but
do.
Caleb Williams is this good. I mean, like I said, USC might have good quarterbacks in the future. Maybe Malachi Nelson, maybe the future guys will be really good, and maybe they'll be having so much success in the Big Ten. Maybe they'll compete with Ohio State, but this was their chance. They had 2 years with Caleb Williams to win a title in the Pac-12, and they couldn't do it because of the defense. And it's just sad. I really hate it for Caleb Williams.
Now, did Caleb Williams make the wrong decision by not kneeling at the 1 when he had that wide open touchdown with like a minute and 40 seconds left? Should he have kneeled, milked the clock, and then gone in?
It's a good point. I mean, but it's sad you have to think like that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the whole problem. It's true, but you're thinking about a situation that for 99% of other teams wouldn't even be thought of. That's how bad and problematic the other side of the ball is. That's why Washington beat Arizona State 15-7, whereas USC beat them 42-28. I mean, I would rather win a game 15-7 than win a game 42-28 against the same team, because at least it shows you that even though we had the worst offensive performance imaginable, we can count on our defense to win us this game.
Man, you sound like an Iowa fan.
Well, Iowa's offense is so bad, though. I'm talking about a team that has a bad offensive day. Washington's a good offensive team that had a bad day. Iowa's bad every day. They've been bad for 15 years on offense.
All right. We're going to skip over LSU.
Remember, this was supposed to be close, though. Everyone was like, armed forces will keep it close. No way. LSU is looking good right now.
What's going on with my computer?
What was the game there? I don't even remember. It's blanked.
Missouri, South Carolina.
Okay, Missouri is looking good. Eli Drinkwitz, even though he's covered up right now, he has saved his job. Absolutely saved his job. Looking really good last few weeks. And they only have 1 loss. They're in the top 25. I don't think anyone expected that, to be honest, from Missouri. It's been impressive to watch them play this year.
Now with South Carolina and Shane Beamer, he broke his foot. Like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, there's a lot of coaches that are just struggling right now. You talk about, Sam Pittman. You talk about Shane Beamer. I mean, there's a lot of coaches that just aren't winning, and it's really interesting. But yeah, that's wild with the broken foot. I mean, I don't know how that's really affecting the season, but South Carolina is not playing very well. I can say that for sure. They're not.
Is it because of all the guys they left in the transfer portal? Is it something else?
I think it's part of it. I mean, they had a really good tight end last season, and he transferred away. I wanted Jaheim Bell to Florida State. He was at South Carolina last season. I think that played a role because, I mean, having those type of players can help your quarterback, get the ball out of his hand even when he's pressured. Like Rattler just doesn't have as many weapons to throw the ball to, and he's getting sacked left and right because their O-line's abysmal. So, yeah, you're probably right. The transfer portal losses that South Carolina suffered is part of the reason. I'm actually shocked they lost all those players after the season they had. Usually you lose a lot of players to the portal when you have a bad year. Like you're struggling and there's like no end to the losing in sight. But no, South Carolina had a good season. I mean, they lost to Notre Dame in the bowl game, but they still went 8-5 and had a pretty good year. But no, all those players left, and now South Carolina's not good.
Yeah.
Stinks.
All right. Now we have to talk about Minnesota, Iowa.
Well, I know that Iowa fans – see, this is the problem. This is the problem. You're defending basically the abysmalness of a certain position or a group on your team. Because the Iowa fans are saying right now, they are saying, we lost this game because the referees blew it on the fair catch thing that basically took back our touchdown. And it's like, it shouldn't come down to that. If you are legitimately a top 25 football team, you haven't lost to Minnesota in like 8 years. Hey, I picked Minnesota to beat them last year, and Minnesota lost. Iowa has won, and they've won against Minnesota. But look at the quarterback play. I think Callie McManus had 126 passing yards, and he had more yards than the Iowa QB. That's why you lost. I understand you would have won the game if they didn't blow the play. I understand. Like I'm with you. I sympathize with you. But the real reason why Iowa will never be good is because their offense is terrible. Just like USC's defense is terrible. Brian Ferentz, his offense, it would work in the 80s. The 1980s are no longer here. It's 2023. You've got to throw the ball. You have to be able to keep players like Charlie Jones in your program. You don't keep players like that because of the fact they don't want to play for you, because you don't throw the ball to receivers. Your tight end rooms are great. Look at TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, all those guys, George Kittle. They're all in the pros because of the fact that you utilize your tight ends. You utilize your linemen and your running backs, but you don't utilize the wide receiver position. That's why you don't win. And Iowa lost this game because their offense is terrible, and it eventually caught up with them. Yes, that play hurt them, but that's why they lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I don't know, man. The thing is with Hayden Fry was known, like before Iowa in the 80s, they were known for their offense with Hayden Fry, which is the thing. They need to get back to like a coach like Hayden Fry. Make it more of an offense.
It's frustrating because of the fact that I hear so many people talk about Iowa, especially the fans, and when they win games, that they're just excited. We won 10-7. Our defense, it's like, I love your defense. I enjoy watching your defense. But do you know how good you could be if you were able to score, if you were able to put up points? And you're not doing that. That's why you can't win. I don't know if I'm frozen or you're frozen. I can't tell.
I don't know.
I think it might be you. Is it me?
Dang it, man. All right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
This is scuffed as crap. All right, Rutgers is going to a bowl. So, unfortunately, it doesn't look like Indiana is.
Well, yeah, Mississippi State, Arkansas was a terrible game. And Mike Wright, the Vanderbilt transfer quarterback, he won that game for him. That was a terrible, terrible performance by Arkansas. I don't know what's happening.
Arkansas's offensive coordinator just got fired.
Yeah, that's a good move. I think that they're missing players like Treylon Burks, though, that were able to help out KJ Jefferson in the passing game. They don't have those dynamic weapons on the outside anymore. That's making a difference. But, yeah, back to Rutgers and Indiana. Tom Allen, his time is getting close to being over at Indiana. It's not going to be this year, but his buyout drops extensively next season. So unfortunately, it's probably about done. I hate it because Tom Allen is the reason that I enjoyed Indiana football. I like watching him tackle players, and he was going crazy over beating Purdue if they ever won. It was cool. He was just so happy. And now Indiana cannot beat Rutgers. And I know Rutgers is better, but it's Rutgers. Indiana always beat Rutgers. Indiana always beat teams like Illinois, or they beat teams sometimes like Maryland. Now they just can't win, so it's frustrating to see for Hoosier fans. And I'm proud of Rutgers. Great that they got bowl eligibility. They deserve it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, congrats to Greg Schiano and all those guys. And for Georgia Tech, it looked like they might go to a bowl. They beat Miami, but then Boston College beat them pretty good.
I appreciate you for stopping by, Hummus Hero. And to your point, Will, if you give up 21 points in a quarter to Boston College, you're terrible. It's Boston College. So I will say that if Boston College makes a bowl game, they quite possibly will be the worst team that's in a bowl game this season. And I'm not talking about between Group of Five and Power. I'm talking about every team. Boston College is not good. They are not a good team. But with that schedule, they're probably going to get there. They're going to get 6 or 7 wins probably. And Boston College fans are going to be like, Jeff Hafley, he's good. And his job is safe. He's not pulling an Eli Drinkwitz right now. Eli Drinkwitz is legitimately saving his job. I don't think that Jeff Hafley is. He's just above water because the bottom teams in the ACC right now are playing abysmal football. And I hope he saves his job. I just don't think Boston College is a good team. Maybe they're playing a little better than they were, but I don't know what happened to the Georgia Tech team that was competitive against Louisville. I don't know what happened to the Georgia Tech team that was playing better football earlier in the season in general. They're not playing well anymore. So, like I said, if Boston College makes a bowl, I'll be happy for them, but I just do not think they're that good.
Yeah, them, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, they might all make bowls.
Yeah, I know, and none of them are good. I mean, none of these teams are any good, but somebody's got to make bowl games out of the ACC. Somebody's got to win the game. So it'd be crazy if Virginia came back and made a bowl. It won't happen, but it'd be insane.
Yeah. So, well, Baylor learned Cincinnati. Someone had to win, and Baylor won it.
Yeah, the bottom of the Big 12 is almost like the bottom of the ACC. I just think the teams are better, but they're still pretty rough. I mean, Cincinnati, they tried. They came back. They were down by, a decent amount, and they came back. But they're still playing horrible football. It's sad to see because they were so good with Luke Fickell. They're so good in the American for those few seasons, and now they've just fallen off a cliff.
Scott Satterfield, man, he's not good.
Yeah, that's why Austin's very happy he's gone at Louisville. He's no longer head coach of the Cardinals. They're playing better football for the most part. But, yeah, I will say that Baylor is nowhere near what they were before with Dave Aranda, but at least they won this game. At least I guess they're giving fans something to cheer about for the rest of the season. Maybe they can make a bowl. I doubt it the way that they're playing, but this win kept them afloat.
At East Carolina, unfortunately.
Man, ECU, you want to talk about, I know no one really gives, any thought to ECU because they're a group of 5 team that like people nationally don't think about them. But you want to talk about a team that's regressed from last season, it's ECU. They have regressed, and it took 3 players. I know that some defensive players are gone, but it took 3 players. Holt Nailers, Keaton Mitchell, C.J. Johnson. Those 3 players were the team. They were the absolute offense for ECU, the entire offense. They're all gone. All of them have played a little bit in the NFL in the preseason. Actually, Keaton Mitchell had a couple of runs the other night. So they're getting some NFL action. They're good players. But ECU didn't replace those guys. They're not like, your Floridas and your LSUs. They can just replace talent. They're a group of 5 team. They weren't able to replace the talent, and they're pretty bad. They are way worse than they were last year.
Big Ten West.
Who did you pick? You picked Illinois, right? Didn't you? I think you did. I picked Wisconsin, I think I went with the Badgers. Thank you, Badgers. You pulled through. And I was watching a little bit of this game. I flipped it on. I was like, Will's right. Wisconsin's terrible. And then they come back. 18 points in the fourth quarter. Wisconsin came through 5-2, 3-1 in the Big Ten. Luke Fickell pulling it out. I don't know what to make of the game, though. I don't think they're any good. But, yeah, I had a lot of games go wrong for me last week, especially Carolina. So, thank you, Wisconsin. You kept me from being under 500 in my pick'em this week. Wow, Wisconsin. That what a four-quarter comeback. On the road, too.
Mm-hmm. Will Nebraska sneak into a bowl?
Yeah, Nebraska's still a bad team, but they're this much better. They're this much better than they were under Scott Frost with Matt Rule right now anyway.
See, if they beat Purdue, they can beat Purdue, Michigan State, and maybe one of these. And then they get
I mean Maryland.
I know they only need 2. They only need 2 wins. They just have to beat Purdue and Michigan State.
I mean, Maryland's regressed a little bit from where they were at the beginning of the season. And Iowa, I mean, all you got to do is score 15 and you win. So, I mean, it's not impossible, they could beat Iowa. I mean, I don't know. Definitely Nebraska make a bowl. I don't think they're any good, but I do think that they're a little bit better than they were under Scott Frost. And this is an important year for Nebraska to finish well, like if they do go 6-6 or 7-5, because this will help build their team for when the Big Ten adds these other teams. Nebraska's got to get back on the right track. You're adding USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington. It's going to make the schedule a lot harder. You can't be sheltered in the West anymore. So this is an important first season for Matt Rule to get Nebraska, have some building blocks for the future to, be able to win against that tougher schedule that's going to be coming up.
I can't believe they never made a bowl of Scott Frost in the Big Ten West.
Sick. And the West is horrible. How do you do that?
That's how.
a proud program like Nebraska, if anybody would have told you, like, during the Tom Osborne era, like in the late 90s, you'd be like, Nebraska fans, 20 years from now, you will be in the Big Ten West, and it will be a terrible division, and you will not make a bowl game with Scott Frost as your head coach. And they'll be like, blasphemy, this will never happen. And it's like, well, it did. It's abysmal how bad Nebraska was under Scott Frost in the West. Mistakes happening all the time in the fourth quarter. And that 3-9 season where they lost all the games by under 10 points will live on in infamy.
Mm-hmm. All right. No.
Wake Forest won over Pitt. Their bowl chances are still alive, but they're not looking that good this season. But that was a quality win. All I could say is about Oklahoma State, I've got one thing to say. Every team out there in college football lose to South Alabama by 33-7, and you'll have a fantastic turnaround, because that's what Oklahoma State has done. After the South Alabama loss, they've been a completely different football team, and they're playing really well.
Well, I think it's because they chose their quarterback, right? Because they were playing like 4 different quarterbacks, and then they chose the right one, right?
Yeah, Alan Bowman's been playing well. I mean, put up a lot of yards. He didn't have as many yards in this game, but look at the ground game. I mean, West Virginia, I thought legitimately had a good
almost
defense.
10 yards a carry.
It's insane. I thought that they had a good defense, but we realized Pitt's bad. Pitt's not a good offensive team. But when West Virginia held them to 6 points, I was like, West Virginia's pretty good on defense. What in the world happened here? How do you give up almost 300 yards on the ground to one guy, a guy that no one's ever heard of before, probably? So it's insane. Gordon for Oklahoma State is on the map now, and the Cowboys are on the map in general, playing good football. And if they keep it up, maybe we'll see them in the top 25 soon. But they're playing well.
Yeah, hopefully West Virginia can still make a bowl.
Yeah, Neil Brown is starting to trail in the wrong direction again. It's like, Neil Brown, you had it going good. You got to make a bowl game, man. You got to make a bowl game.
Let's look at the schedule. UCF, they have to be at win at UCF, right?
Cincinnati and Baylor are winnable.
So they just need to win 2.
They can win against UCF, BYU, Cincinnati, and Baylor. They can win 2 of those games, they make a bowl. It's still not impressive for Neil Brown, and West Virginia fans will be upset, especially after starting 4-1, but they can win 2 of those 4 games.
Yeah.
But if they don't make a bowl game, it might be over, though. If they don't, if they go 5-7, I don't see how he's retained, really. I would have a hard time seeing that.
Yeah. Fans would riot. Oh, come on.
Central Michigan lost to somebody. That's about all I know from that.
Here we go. That's better.
Okay. UTSA
BYU getting their first win over an old. Okay, we're just not doing that anymore. We're going to do it like this. Okay.
BYU is 5-2. Not bad. I mean, they've had a couple of awful performances this season, but I think that BYU is still decent. Keaton Slovis is playing fairly well for the most part, outside of a few mistakes. And, yeah, the Cougars have been playing better than the other, Big 12 entrants for the most part. You talk about, your Houstons, UCF, Cincinnati. I think BYU's been the best team. Maybe Houston has an argument the way they played the last 2 weeks, but I think BYU's been the most consistent by a little bit over Houston and probably UCF as well.
And TCU, what happened there?
See, this is what I don't understand right here. TCU has been playing terribly. Then they beat BYU. I'm talking about how decent BYU's been, but TCU did destroy BYU. And then they get destroyed by Kansas State. I mean, how are you supposed to look at TCU beating BYU 41-11, but then they lose to Kansas State 41-3? And Kansas State lost to Oklahoma State. So it's like, how are these teams ranked in the Big 12? How good are they? Is TCU bad? Are they decent? I have no idea. All I know is I think I picked K-State to win this one.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I did, but I only picked them to win by 7 or 10. I would have never thought TCU would have lost by 38, especially after the way they beat BYU.
Mm-hmm.
App State's kind of falling off a cliff.
Old Dominion is having a solid year.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone thought they were going to be at the bottom of the Sun Belt.
It's funny, too, because they're actually having a solid year, and they didn't beat Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, maybe Virginia Tech, maybe they'll make a bowl. I'm hoping they'll make a bowl.
I can tell you that would be crazy. Well, that definitely would be. But I can tell you Coop was happy. Coach Coop was very happy about this performance. Miami, he was at the game. His reaction to the game was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Miami beating Clemson in overtime. Wow. Clemson's just not that great. 4-3. I mean, the Wake win where they only won 17-12 was kind of, raising the alarms a bit. And Clemson needs portal guys. They need more talent. They need more depth on their team.
They need better coaches too.
I agree as well. The coaching is nowhere near where it used to be. And Miami, they're inconsistent, but that's a good win for them to get back on track. And, definitely they're going to make a bowl. They should anyway.
Yeah.
Nevada 6-0 over San Diego State was bad too.
I thought Cade Klubnik was turning at the corner at one point, but I don't think he's as good as people said he would be out of high school.
I mean, maybe we need a little more time to see from him, but yeah, he definitely is not performing to the standard that Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence said at Clemson. I mean, that's why DJ's out at Oregon State, because he wasn't playing well enough and didn't fit the system, and now Cade Klubnik's having struggles of his own. It could just be a team problem, or maybe, like you said, a coaching problem.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe, hopefully, for Dapo's sake, they got rid of some of their bandwagon fans.
Oh yeah, I love that. That was funny. It's like, yeah, we're just getting rid of some of those bandwagon fans. We don't need them. It's like, man, you want those bandwagon fans though. No matter how frustrating they can be, you want to be at the top of the sport. Now you're 4-3 in the ACC, and you're 2-3 in the league on top of that. 2-3 in the conference. So definitely, it's nice to get rid of the bandwagon fans, but Clemson's not looking that good though.
Yeah, Irish are going into Clemson in 2 weeks, so.
That would be a good game if Clemson hasn't thrown in the towel on the season completely.
Yeah. All right, on to week 9. Liberty, Western Kentucky, New Mexico State, La Tech.
That's not a bad game right there with Liberty, Western Kentucky. Liberty favored by 5 points. And I know some people be like, well, that's a small spread. Western Kentucky's still a good team, though. I mean, they don't have as much, I guess you say offensive firepower as they had before because they don't have the same coaching staff there. But Austin Reed is still putting up big stats. Mm-hmm. And it's, at their place in Bowling Green. That's going to be a tough game for Liberty. I could see a loss there. I'm going to go with Liberty to win 31-28, but Western Kentucky could win there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll go with Liberty 38-24. I think they'll do enough to win comfortably at the end.
Yeah, I would go with Louisiana Tech to win by about 7 as well. Neither team's great, but Tech's looked a bit better lately.
Rich Ryan, Jacksonville State.
Yeah, they should win. Florida International did not play well in their win last week over Sam Houston. Like, they won in overtime. And Sam Houston's not great, so I'll go with Rich Rod to get the win by about – I'll go with Jacksonville State by 14. I'll go 31-17.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And we have Thursday night, we got Syracuse against Virginia Tech at Lane Stadium.
This is an underrated game right here. A lot of people will not care about this game necessarily because of the fact that it's 2 ACC teams that on paper just don't look that good. But you've got 2 teams fighting for bowl eligibility. Dino Babers, possibly his job at this point. I know that a lot of Syracuse fans have been wondering how much longer that he's going to have at Syracuse, but that is a job that they are very lenient to their head coaches. But they're 4-3, 0-3 in the conference, and Virginia Tech is only favored by 3, which is essentially the home field spread. But Virginia Tech, to their credit, has been playing better football since Drones has been the quarterback.
Kyron Drones has been playing better.
He's been better than Grant Wells. That has made a difference, and it's noticeably different. Virginia Tech has been decent. Like, they're decent in the lowest marginal way, but they are a decent football team compared to where they were. And again, to Jackson's point, Dino Babers is in big trouble. I don't think they're a terrible team. I think Garrett Schrader is a guy that when he's given, the ability to run the football and he's given time to make throws, he can play. I mean, he lit up Purdue, absolutely torched Purdue. But ever since Syracuse has gone into ACC play, it just looks like every team has figured them out. And like they just know the scheme. They know exactly what they're going to do. And Syracuse just kind of looks very vanilla compared to what they look like in the non-con. But I don't trust either team. I could see both teams getting the win. But because it's in Lane Stadium at night and it is a good environment, and Drones at quarterback has been better than Wells, and they've looked pretty competent lately, I'm going to go with Virginia Tech to beat Syracuse 24-21.
I'll go 31-14 Hokies. I just feel like Dino's going down the drain, and hopefully Brett Pry can turn the team around and get the recruiting can get better. Because Virginia Tech started to recruit Virginia a bit better.
And they have to. I mean, they're too good of a program with a history. I mean, what Frank Beamer did there, I mean, they should not be this poor, especially in the ACC with how poorly it's been as a conference the last few seasons. A lot of bad teams. And Virginia Tech's just been in that group of bad teams. They should not be this bad. It's good that they're recruiting the state better. And like if they do lose 31-14, like you said, Syracuse, Dino Babers could be about done. It would be very bad for him if they lost like that and they just keep on losing. It'll be an interesting game. Some stakes on the line for the Bulls, for either team if they can get there and for Babers' job. But, yeah, I'm with you. I think Virginia Tech will get it done. Should be a good one.
FAU and Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Florida Atlantic there. Charlotte's been playing too poorly. And that Georgia State-Georgia Southern game is not bad as well. You look at the spread, only 1.5 Georgia Southern's way. Georgia State beat Marshall, and they just looked a bit better overall. I know that, they're on the road, and that's going to be a tough game, but I'll go with Georgia State by 3.
I just don't know enough about these teams.
I don't know much about them either, but I have flipped them on a couple times, and I know Georgia State beat Marshall. That was a decent win. And you look at Georgia Southern's quarterback, 14 touchdowns, 11 picks. That's a lot of turnovers. I'll go with Georgia State. Thanks for stopping by, Steven. He says Babers has been overrated. Well, I don't know how many people necessarily overrate Babers. I don't know how many people overrate him, though. I've never overrated him. I had one decent year with Eric Dungy at quarterback in 2018 when they went 10-3. But outside of that, they've been pretty bad. So if people are overrating Dino Babers, I don't know. I mean, you can overrate anybody then. But appreciate you for being here, Steven.
And we have my Fighting Irish and Notre Dame taking on the Pitt Panthers, 20-point favorites in Notre Dame Stadium. Can the Irish offense look competent?
I would say that this would be a blowout win for Notre Dame, but after seeing Virginia beat North Carolina, I'm not sure of anything anymore. I'm just not. But Notre Dame, they've had times before where they drop games that they should win. They've done it before. Marshall, Stanford last year. This is a better team, though. They are better this year than they were last year, but anything's possible. But if Notre Dame drops this game, then I don't know what to say. I'm going to go with the Fighting Irish to win 31-17. I'll keep it a bit closer. A little bit closer, but Notre Dame should win by more, but I'll go with the Fighting Irish by 14.
Can we get into 40 points? Can we please get into 40 points, Jared Parker? I'm really hoping that's not too much to ask.
It shouldn't be too much to ask. I mean, Pitt's not good at all, but the way teams are playing, they've been very inconsistent this year. Outside of Michigan, even though, like you said, maybe there's something going on there, but Michigan's been dominant. Everybody else has been a little up and down this season, even Georgia.
So I'm going to say the Irish to win 41-14. I'm hoping I'm right.
You could be right, and if they do win by that much, it's a good sign for the rest of the season.
And we have Florida State taking on Wake Forest. This should be Florida State big, but you never know, man. They almost lost to BC, so.
Stephen Cherry says Irish coming off a bye week will beat Pitt by 21. The bye will help, but Miami showed the bye sometimes doesn't help. But we'll definitely see there. Buckeye Mike says, howdy, boys. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I will say with these two teams, Florida State's favored by 20, but that Boston College game still sits on my mind. And I know Boston College is 4-3, so they're really good now. Boston College is not great. I will reiterate that. They're not great. If they make a bowl, I'm happy for Hafley and the team, but that was a bad performance by Florida State. I don't trust the Noles completely because of that game, but they should win because Wake Forest has not been playing that great at all. And I think that Florida State will win on the road 34-17.
Yeah, I don't know. Unfortunately for Wake, Sam Hartman isn't there anymore. They might make a bowl still, which would be good for them. But I'm going to go with the Noles to win 35-3. I think that they should take control of this game pretty easily.
I will say that Wake Forest is probably up there as one of the best examples of a team that misses their starting quarterback. I mean, you talk about the fact that Sam Hartman's at Notre Dame playing the way that he is, and even though Notre Dame's lost 2 games, he's still, been really good for Notre Dame, and Wake Forest definitely misses his play. They're just nowhere near as good of an offensive team without him.
And Mike, I don't know who the heck's going to win the West.
Yeah, that is the definition of you throw all the teams in a blender and some team's going to come out of it. I mean, Iowa should have been the team. I mean, all Iowa had to do was throw for $150. That's all they had to do. If you throw for 150 yards, you win the West. You have it in your hands, and you just gave it away because of the fact you just can't score, and you're blaming the fair catch. I understand the fair catch, but your offense is horrible. But Iowa probably still has a good chance to do it. Their schedule's easy. And, I mean, Minnesota's been awful at times this season. I don't know. I mean, it could be Wisconsin. It could be Iowa. It could be Minnesota.
It could be Northwestern.
Literally, Mike's saying the 3 teams I just said. Minnesota, you think, could win? Is Iowa still the favorite? Wisconsin could win? All 3 of those teams could win. I would lean still more Iowa or Wisconsin, but all of them could. They're not good, and none of them are good teams. None of them are. Absolutely none of them. So all of them could, Mike. I don't know. I'd say either Iowa or Wisconsin still. And Steven's saying Nebraska cool win. I mean, you don't know, man. Throw them in a blender.
Yeah, I'm hoping Northwestern wins. That'd be funny.
Oh, that would be unreal. That would just be funny if they did, or maybe Purdue did it. It'd be crazy. I know they did it the year before, but they were able to do it again. That'd be wild.
Will Jalen Daniels be back for Kansas? They're saying he's questionable.
Yes, it's like the Cam Rising saga at Utah, which looks like it's coming to an end with him possibly redshirting and coming back next season. But with Jalen Daniels, Jason Bean is good. He is a good backup quarterback, and he's led Kansas to big victories. Like I mentioned all the time, the Texas win 2 years ago when they were 2-10 and they beat the Longhorns. He can play, but Jalen Daniels elevates Kansas to another level. They're just better with him. I don't know how much better they are, but they are better with Jalen Daniels. And if Kansas is going to win this game, it's most likely because Jalen Daniels is at quarterback. Can Jason Bean get this win? Possibly, especially if Oklahoma plays the way that they did against UCF. But something tells me that because of the fact that Oklahoma had the scare against UCF, I think that's going to help Oklahoma bounce back and play better this week. It's going to wake them up. I feel like if they blow out UCF, this could have been the game they overlooked, but they overlooked UCF. Maybe that will help them not overlook Kansas. This game, to me, could go either way, especially if Jalen Daniels is the quarterback. I could definitely see a Jayhawk win, but I will go with Oklahoma just with the uncertainty at quarterback and the fact that I think because Oklahoma got scared last week and surprised by UCF, barely beating the Knights, I think Oklahoma will play better. Dylan Gabriel will have a big day. Kansas defense won't be able to slow him down. I'm going to go with Oklahoma to win 38-31.
This could be dumb. This could be dumb, but I don't know, man. I have a feeling that Kansas is going to win. I have a feeling that Jalen Daniels is going to come back and do it. I'm going to go 45-41 Jayhawks. Okay,
They could. They really could.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what to say about this. I had a little more to say on the Oklahoma Kansas. I'll say in a sec. But Mike, Indiana's not upsetting nobody right now. You honestly think Indiana can't beat Rutgers? They're not beating Penn State, Mike. That would save Tom Allen's job a little bit, but no, I would be absolutely blown away if that happened. But yeah, Will, I don't think you're crazy for picking Kansas. I mean, they could win, and it'd be awesome if they did for Lance Leipold and the Jayhawks to show how far they've come as a program. But something tells me Oklahoma's just going to bounce back. But you could be right. If I would be wrong on a game this week, on one of these big games, I would not be shocked if I was wrong on this one.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a score prediction for Indiana Penn State, or?
I would say Penn State wins 38-10. Indiana's not playing well. I mean, at this point, like, they've got talent, as I've said every week, but they're not utilizing it. Jalen Lucas and Cam Camper are not getting any help. No one's throwing the ball to Camper. No one's allowing Jalen Lucas to get any space and go. I mean, he's basically Whop Phillier, but more of a running back. And Whop Phillier, when he was at IU, had Kalen DeBoer as offensive coordinator, and he knew how to get him the ball, whether it was Penix or Ramsey at QB. Indiana's not utilizing the talent that they have. There's just nothing that's going right for IU right now. And, I mean, Penn State's favored by 32 for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go 42-10 Penn State. Hopefully Indiana can play better. But
I mean, I hate it for Tom Allen. I mean, it'd be cool to see Indiana do better. I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah. And Maryland and Northwestern.
You know what would be funny?
For $3.
Just a little bit to that Boston College game. It would be hilarious if Boston College lost to UConn. That would be funny. Because
they lost last year to UConn, right?
Think about it, though. It could happen. I know UConn's bad and everything, and they're way worse than last year, but I could see this happening. I legitimately could see this happening, and that'd be hilarious. Because, like, Boston College is on a quest for bowl eligibility, and then they lose to UConn. I will go with Boston College to win by 3, but I could see a loss. I'll go 24-21 Boston College.
Yeah, I don't know. Boston College's offense has been better with Castellanos. So I'll go 49-24 BC.
That sounds about right.
We got Maryland and Northwestern for $3.
Yeah, I mean, these games are cheap. Awesome prices for these games. Yeah, Maryland, I don't know what happened last week against Illinois, or 2 weeks ago. I mean, that was a terrible loss, and they looked so good, and everybody thought that they were the 4th best team in the Big Ten. Now people are saying it's Rutgers. Now people are saying that Rutgers is the 4th best team in the Big Ten, but it was supposed to be Maryland, and it still could be. Northwestern has not looked as awful as they have the last couple of years, but I do think Maryland will win this game. Northwestern is no fans. I think the Terps will bounce back off the bye, and they'll win 34-20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll go 38-10 Maryland. They should control it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And we have South Carolina and Texas A&M. Both teams, 2 teams that are just not playing good football right now and need to win in the worst way.
Yeah, to answer Mike's point, he says Indiana Penn State's on CBS because the best 3:30 option. It's actually the noon game on CBS. I don't know why there's 2 games on CBS this week. I know that the Big Ten and the SEC are sharing the network this year, but Indiana is against Penn State at noon. In Georgia, Florida, to Jack's point, is at 3:30 on CBS. Yeah, to your point on South Carolina A&M, though, I know South Carolina won last year against A&M, but South Carolina's way worse this year, and Rattler's not getting any help whatsoever. A&M is not as good without Connor Wegman. They're playing worse football with Max Johnson. The offense just isn't as crisp. They're making more mistakes, but I do think that A&M is more talented by far, and they should win this game. Doesn't mean that they will, but they should win. I'll go with Aggies to win 28-17 over South Carolina. and you're good, Mike. No big deal at all.
Yeah, I think the Aggies will roll. At some point, Jimbo Fisher will get his 4th loss because he feels like every year he goes either 8-4 or 4-8 with Texas A&M. So it looks
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's true. I mean, with so much talent, they always underperform every single year. It's an enigma.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with a 34-23 Aggie win.
Mm-hmm. It's a good prediction.
We have Houston and Kansas State. Kansas State a big favorite at home. I think
Yeah,
that
I like Donovan Smith's play. I really do. 16 touchdowns, 4 picks. He's playing good football. Houston's looked way better the last 2 weeks than they looked at the beginning of the season. But Kansas State, it's at home, and they've looked improved since their last loss. I'll go with the Wildcats to beat Houston 31-30. I'll have it a 1-point game. Houston's going to keep it close, but I think Kansas State will pull it out.
Yeah, Kansas State's a 17-point favorite. Jeez.
That's big.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll cover it, but I'll let them get close. So I'm going to go 34-20 Kansas State.
Could be a good game. Could be underrated.
Yeah. West Virginia going to UCF. UCF a 7-point favorite with John Reese Plumlee Black. No love for the Mountaineers.
Yeah, Jackson said it's the West Virginia UCF matchup, a hot seat game for both coaches.
Not Gusmel. Gusmel's on seats. Cool.
He just got the contract extension. There's no way that he's on the hot seat because he just got the extension. This game is so hard to predict because UCF left for dead the way that they've been playing. And then they go out there and hang tough with Oklahoma because Plumlee's back. And now they could be better. They could start winning some games now. West Virginia, you're 4-1, and then you have one of the biggest meltdowns in the history of college football against Houston, 12-second drive to Houston, losing that game, and then you lose last week as well. Jackson, in this day and age, contract sends me nothing. That's true, but I just don't see Malzahn getting fired right now.
No chance.
It's just not going to happen. But I will say that this game is important for both teams. And I don't want to say I don't trust Gus because I've always been a Malzahn fan. I never thought
I don't trust Neil Brown either, though.
I never thought he should have been fired at Auburn, and I thought that he was fired too early and that he was still doing fairly well there. But I do not trust Neil Brown. No. I mean, I said to you when they were 4-1, even though I picked them against Houston, I said they could lose this game and their season could start going in the wrong direction, and it is. And if this loss happens, the fan base will revolt against Neil Brown. I'm going UCF to win 31-28. Gus is a little bit more trustworthy than Neil Brown. So I'm going UCF, 31-28.
I'm sorry. I want West Virginia to win. I want Joey Foster to be happy. But there's no there. Looks like such a loss for West Virginia, man. This looks so bad for John Rice Plumlee back, and suddenly Garrett Green's falling apart in their defense. So I want to go with UCF 34, West Virginia 20.
Yeah, and 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have picked that. I would have picked West Virginia, but it's all changed. That's how quickly things can change in college football. Neil Brown from hero to hot seat in just 2 weeks.
Yeah. Clemson and NC State, someone's got to win this game.
The CW is not good for favorites because you talk about the fact that Louisville played at Pitt on the CW and lost. North Carolina somehow loses to Virginia on the CW, and now you've got this game, Clemson at NC State. What am I supposed to do here? Do I give Clemson another crack at you against Miami and you let me down? I picked you against Florida State and you let me down. I even picked you against Duke and you let me down. Or do I go with NC State, who has also let me down this season, except against Marshall? They did beat Marshall on the CW. I don't trust either team. I do not think that either team is necessarily that good. Clemson's more talented, though. If talent was the indicator, then Clemson would win this game easily over NC State because they're still way more talented, but they're just not playing that well. And like I said, the CW has had a couple of big upset games this season. But Dabo Swinney's been there for so long, and I'm going to be nice to Clemson. I'm going to be nice to Dabo. Even though they have lost 3 times this year that I've picked him, I'm going to tentatively go with Clemson to win on the CW 27-24 over NC State. But if they lose this game, I don't know if I can pick them anymore.
The only reason I'm picking Clemson in this game is that NC State's offense has looked like Iowa's this season. It's been bad. Their offense has just been bad. So I think Clemson will do enough. I'm going to go Clemson 17, NC State 10.
Yeah, this comment from Hummus Hero is just fantastic. Everyone loses on the CW except Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She never tastes defeat. That's funny. And then Jackson said maybe they could put Clemson NC State on Nickelodeon. I don't even have any words for that one. That's a good one. Yeah, all Clemson NC State should be good. It should be a good underrated game, but I think Clemson will win. But I would not be shocked if they lost. Jackson said it's better than bad reruns of new SpongeBob. That's a good one too. Sorry, go ahead.
We have the world's largest cocktail party, Georgia against Florida. Now, I'll say my piece on the game, and then you can say yours. If Ray Davis had a huge game against Florida, how much is Georgia going to run for? That's what I have to say. I can't see Florida win this game. Jeffrey, do you feel the same?
I could see a possible upset, very slight possible upset, but not really. I would think that Georgia is too talented, and as long as they play a C-plus game, they should be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think Dejon Edwards in that Georgia running back room is going to run for a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a game that you look at Florida, and they have to play a perfect game if they want to win. Graham Mertz has to not make mistakes. They can't play vanilla either. They can't, just play conservatively and expect to win. They have to throw out all the stops, and I just don't know if Florida's capable of that.
Yeah, I'm thinking a 35-14 Bulldog win.
That sounds about right. I will pick Georgia to beat Florida 34-20. I think Florida will try. I think they'll play decently enough in the first half, but then Georgia will score a couple of touchdowns in the second half to pull away, and they'll win fairly comfortably by around that 14.5-point spread. Should be a decent game. I'll definitely be watching, but Georgia should win.
And we have BYU going to Texas. Now, if this game was in Provo, it could get interesting, but it's in Austin, so I don't think it will.
Yeah, I agree with you there. If it was in Utah and Provo, that would be possibly one of the games of the week. But since it's in Austin, that's going to be hard for BYU. BYU has enough offense, though. When they play like it, they have enough offense to hang with Texas. And Texas hasn't looked as good lately. So there's a shot this is a closer game than some people are expecting. But Texas should win. Texas is more talented, and BYU is still transitioning to the Big 12. That has been tough on these teams. I'll go with Quinn Ewers and the Longhorns. He should have a pretty solid day. I know he's been a little inconsistent, but he should have a pretty solid day. I'll go with Texas to beat BYU 38-24.
Same, yeah. I think Quinn Ewers will have a good game. I think BYU may have some good moments in the game, but overall, I was thinking 38-21 Texas.
About the same.
Yeah. And we have the game of the week. The Ducks traveling to Rice Eccles to take on the Cow Farmer and the Utah Utes.
This game right here, I am looking forward to this matchup on Fox, 3:30 in the afternoon. Bo Nix has been incredible. Look at those stats. 19 touchdowns to 1 pick. As good as Michael Penix has been, he just had 2 picks in his last game. Nix has had 1 pick all season long, over 2,000 yards. Oregon 6-1, 8th in the country. They're talented on defense. They're really good on offense. But it's in Rice-Eccles. This is not in Autzen. And Utah does not lose at home ever. They have not lost a home game, not counting the 2020 season where there were no fans, but with fans since 2019. It's been 4 years since Utah has lost a home game with fans. That is incredible. And they only have a home crowd full with 51,000 people. It's not like their stadium's one of the biggest in college football. It's a smaller stadium, but it packs a punch. Those fans are loud. It makes a difference. I don't like
there's an elevation there too.
The elevation does play a difference. The altitude plays a difference with teams having to travel there. A lot of them are not used to playing in that type of environment with the altitude. You are absolutely right. And like I said, it packs a punch. Those fans are loud. And I don't like to say that a lot of arenas have that special effect, but Rice-Eccles does. Utah's home crowd is hard. It is hard to win there. The atmosphere, the environment, the altitude. I know Cam Rising is not there. I know that. And I know that Utah beat USC, a team with a horrible defense. I know that. I know USC's defense is absolutely abysmal. And Oregon's defense is good. And I believe I will be sad in a way if Oregon loses this game because I do think they're a legitimate college football playoff contender team. And I would hate to see them already knocked out of it because they are really good. They're a really good team. But I think Utah's going to get it done. I really do. At home with Rice-Eccles, I'm going to go with Utah to beat Oregon 31-28. I'm going with the Utes to upset Oregon. And again, I will be upset for the Ducks if this happens because they are a really great team that is possibly a college football playoff contender if they win this game. But I trust Rice-Eccles a little bit more. I'm going with Utah to win over Oregon 31-28.
Man, I could see it happening. But I think Oregon's just too talented. I think Bo Nix, Bucky Irving, that whole team will just be too talented. I think the game will be close. But I do think the Ducks will get a late touchdown and win this game 28-21. But it should be a heck of a game at Rice-Eccles. But you could be right for sure, Jeffrey.
I don't usually pick an upset like that in a big game, and I really like Oregon. It almost pained me to not pick them because they're that good of a football team, but it's just hard to bet on 4 years of winning in a building. Very hard, and Utah is just that good at home. So we'll see. You could be right. You definitely could be right with Oregon winning, but it's going to take a big, mighty effort from the Ducks to win in Rice-Eccles because that place is hard to win at, and we'll see. It's going to be a great game.
Mm-hmm. And we have Duke going to Louisville, of course, not with what's his name? Remind me, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry.
Riley Leonard.
Yeah, without Riley Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
But can Duke's defense hold up? It eventually, the dam eventually broke in Doak, but can they stay strong in Louisville?
Yeah, this is a game that I'm just frustrated with the fact that it's on the same time as Oregon and Utah. I'm going to try to
flip that Notre Dame hits at the same time as Oregon, Utah, and Duke Louisville.
Mm-hmm. I will flip this game on and try to watch some of it during the commercials, but it stinks. I'm going to definitely be paying more attention to Oregon, Utah. But this is a good game. Both teams ranked in the top 20. I think that Duke is a good football team, but Riley Leonard's key. I don't know his availability, and I know that this is going to be outdated in a couple of days because of the fact that we're going to probably find out whether he'll play or not, but as of now, I'm not sure. But I'm going to go with the fact that he could play because he was questionable last game, so he might be able to play this week. And I don't think it's a kind of case like with the other quarterbacks that we've talked about that are questionable, like Jalen Daniels and Cam Rising, where he won't play. There's probably a good chance that Leonard does. But, I mean, I'm just not sure. But Duke's a good defensive team. I know they gave up 38 to Florida State, which is, you know, a good offensive team, and that's tough. But Duke is a pretty good defensive team. Louisville, I think they're good, But I still look at the fact that they barely beat NC State, Indiana, and Georgia Tech. And I know the Notre Dame win was impressive, but other than that, what have they done? Because those 3 wins just weren't impressive. And then they then they lose to Pitt after they beat Notre Dame the way that they did. I don't know. I feel like Riley Leonard will play, though. I just have a sneaking suspicion he will. And if he does, I think Duke's better than Louisville. I'm going to go with Duke to go on the road and win at Louisville 34-27.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It says uncertain if Riley Leonard's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna lean to him not coming back. I'm gonna lean to Louisville winning 42-28. I don't know. I just don't think Duke can do it without Riley. And I don't know. If he comes back, who knows? But right now, I don't know if they would rush him back again after he re-injured his ankle.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I just feel like if he does play, they'll win, but who knows? Should be a good game. I mean, like I said, with injuries like that where you don't know if a guy's going to play, it makes it tough to pick games. And I think Louisville is a decent team. I think that they're really solid, but I just don't really trust them overall, and we'll see. I'm gonna go with Duke. I could be wrong, though.
Yeah. We have Mississippi State taking on Auburn in the bottom of the barrel SEC game of the week.
Yeah, I think that Mississippi
probably won't
State
turn to this one, but
I think that Mississippi State is not great at all. But when they brought in Mike Wright, it gave them something on the ground. And for whatever reason, Arkansas just couldn't score last week. I don't know if Mississippi State's defense necessarily was that good or what, because Mississippi State's been letting teams score all over them. Even Arizona did. I know Arizona has been playing better than people have expected, but still, Mississippi State, they beat Arkansas, but I don't necessarily think that you can say that they beat Arkansas. That was an ugly game. Auburn is 0-4 in the SEC. But they've played pretty well. I think they're going to win in Jordan-Hare this time. I'm going to go with Auburn to beat Mississippi State 21-17.
Yeah. I think Auburn overall is looking – I mean, I don't know if they're looking better under Hugh Freeze, but the vibe's just better still, even though they haven't won yet. He's still in his honeymoon period. And not sure if he'll be as good as Gus Malzahn, but I felt bad for Brian Harsin there at the end, but the team just wasn't playing for him.
That was sad to watch.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Auburn 24-20
Yeah, I don't think either team's that great. But definitely, remember last week you said you thought Mississippi State was the worst Power 5 team. I remember that. And I was like, I don't know about that. And they beat Arkansas 7-3. You can say that was the ugliest Power 5 win in college football this season, but I don't think they're the worst Power 5 team. And then I told you I was wrong too, because I said I thought Virginia was the worst Power 5 team, and then they beat North Carolina. So still searching who's the worst. It could be Indiana. I hope it's not Indiana, but it could be. Then they beat Penn State. So Indiana, you're the worst. Beat Penn State. Prove me wrong. It's not going to happen. But that's funny.
And we have Michigan State taking on Minnesota.
PJ Fleck. Neither team's good on offense.
Yeah. For sure. I'm going to go with the Minnesota 10-3 win. I think it'll be a little better than their Mississippi State's win over Arkansas.
Yeah, key quote, they're a little bit better. For sure. I mean, Noah Kim, 6 touchdowns, 6 picks. I mean, you got to give a little bit of credit to Michigan State that they haven't, I guess, necessarily thrown in the towel completely. They have been competitive in certain games, and they should have beaten Rutgers. All the credit that we can give to Rutgers for how that they've been playing and that they're bowl eligible, Michigan State should have beat them. They were up by a lot on them, and then Rutgers came back in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, it's not like Michigan State's been completely awful, but they're still bad. Minnesota, I don't trust. And if it wasn't for the win over Iowa, I don't really think anybody would be talking any, positive things about them. But I'll go with Minnesota to win 14-13. I'll give them a 1-point win, but I don't think either team's that good.
And we have Purdue going to Nebraska.
Purdue is not a terrible offensive team. They're not terrible. but sometimes they are. They're way worse on offense than they were under Jeff Brom. I think that's going to make a difference. It's at Nebraska. Nebraska's looked a bit better, and Heinrich Harburg's been good on the ground. I'll go with Nebraska to win 21-20, another 1-point win. I think Nebraska will pull it out.
Yeah. So you see with Scott Frost, they're losing these one-score games. With Matt Rule, it's starting to turn around a bit. They're starting to win one-score games,
which is good. That's a good sign.
And I think they'll do it again. I think they'll win 24-20. I'll give them a little more than you gave them, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to see. It's great that Nebraska is not always losing one-score games anymore. At least that they've proven that they're not cursed and that they can win a one-score game.
Can Virginia do it again? Can they once again defeat an ACC brand this time in Miami?
It would be insane if Virginia did, because two things. Number one, it would prove, hey, North Carolina's not terrible then, because Virginia did it again. And number two, the Miami fans react. I would not want to see Coach Stoops be upset, but he would lose it. He'd go crazy. It would just be a complete and utter meltdown in Coral Gables. But I will say that Virginia, that was lightning in the bottle. They shouldn't have won, but they got it done. But this game's not on the CW. It's on the ACC network. That plays a role. These TV stations matter a little bit. I don't think it's scientifically proven, but it does play a little bit of a role here. Miami got a confidence-building win last week over Clemson. I'll go with the Hurricanes to achieve bowl eligibility and get to 500 in the ACC with a win over Virginia, 31-21. Not going to be by a lot, but they'll get it done.
Yeah, that was similar to what I was thinking. You know what? 27-24. It'll be a squeaker.
Yeah, Virginia, just to see Coach Stoops'
heart rate go up. Now we have Iowa State and Baylor. Iowa State's trying to stay in contention for that Big 12 title game. They're off to a good start, 3-1. Their only loss is Oklahoma, although they did lose to Iowa and Ohio in non-conference play. So.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, though. If they didn't lose to Iowa or Ohio, they'd be 6-1 right now, and they would be ranked, and Matt Campbell would definitely be off any hot seat or any type of pressure on his job. I mean, it would be great stuff for the Cyclones, but they're 4-3, but they've been playing better. And Rocco Beck at quarterback, he hasn't been
12-5. That's pretty good.
12 touchdowns, 5 picks, 1,400 yards. He's been playing pretty well. Baylor's been all over the place. I mean, every time I pick against Baylor, they play better. I mean, that UCF game, I still cannot believe that it was 35-7, and then they came back and won 36-35. So I don't know. Baylor can win this game. Iowa State's only favored by 1.5. But I like the way the Cyclones have been playing. Like I said, the Big 12, you put all these teams, you throw them in a blender, and you get a crazy result. So who knows sometimes, but I will give Iowa State the benefit of the doubt and give them a 31-24 win over Baylor.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Waco, it's not been a fun year in Waco, although they did win that last game against Cincinnati, which is good. But I don't know. I think that Iowa State win. I'll go 34-20. I think they win it pretty big.
Should be a decent game that not many people will watch because it's on ESPN Plus.
Here we go. Can USC have a winning record this year? They're taking on Cal in Strawberry Fields, as they call it up there. Can they get off the schneid?
The fact that USC is only favored by 11 says it all, though. I mean, they should be favored by 20-plus points in this game. They're favored by 11. And that's only because Cal's probably going to put up points. I mean, Cal scored 32 on Washington. I understand that Washington was blitzing Cal in that game, and they scored a couple garbage touchdowns late. But still, Cal's not a good offensive team, but they're capable, especially when they're playing a poor defense. And USC is a poor defense. I can't dare pick Cal. I mean, if I pick Cal and Cal actually won, oh, man, the internet would explode. I mean, it would be fire Lincoln Riley, fire Grinch, fire everybody. I mean, it would be insane. It would just be absolutely nuts. Oh my gosh. Buckeye Mike. So before I go, appreciate being here again, Mike. But he says USC is losing to Cal 36-27. I mean, you can argue because USC's out of the playoff hunt that they can just throw in the season. Oh, it's all over. They still have the Pac-12 to play for. They could still win the Pac-12. It's not likely at this point with the way that they're playing, but they still have a shot. I just don't see USC completely throwing away the season, but the fact I could see them losing this game, again, says it all. But I will go with USC to win 42-35. They'll win, I think, but it's not going to be pretty.
I'm going 42. Yeah, I'll go. We're on the same wavelength. I'm going 42-38.
I think USC fans will still be upset. No, I'm not saying they're going to win the Pac, Mike. I'm just saying that they still have a chance because they only have one loss. They still have something to play for if they won out. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they will. I'm saying they still have a chance based off their record. That's all.
How are they ranked? How are they ranked?
I don't know. It's because, A, they're a brand. Mike saying USC doesn't win another. I don't know. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate your comments. I mean, if USC loses this game, maybe that's true somehow.
Look at this. Maybe that's true. Look at that.
But, okay, Washington and Oregon are hard. They're hard. But UCLA and Cal, if USC plays competent football, should win both. They should win both. But, I mean, maybe he's right. I don't know. I mean, but do you think they'll lose to Cal? I mean, do we legitimately think that they will drop to Cal?
I mean, I think Cal's better than Arizona State.
Mike says, even Tony said they probably won't win another game. I would be shocked if USC fell to 6-6. If Caleb Williams stops playing football for the Trojans and he sits out the rest of the year to prepare for the draft, then yeah, I think USC will drop their last 4 games. But if Caleb Williams is on that football field, I think that they're going to win another game. He almost hears that Caleb needs to win or he won't get that huge NIL deal from it. That's a good one. And then Steven says Caleb Williams is about to shut it down for the year. I mean, that could be true. I mean, it absolutely could be, but I'm going to back USC one more time against Cal. I think they'll beat Cal, but who knows? Maybe Mike's right and they won't win another game.
Tony's a negative one, and then Tim's a homer on the post-game shows for sure.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see his reaction. I don't know. Jackson says USC losing to Cal. Somebody's not using their. I mean, I think they'll win, but anything's possible at this point. Carolina lost to Virginia. They're not going to win another game now. I mean, we could do it for any team, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little bit too positive for the favorites.
Wyoming and Boise State will be good.
I'm going Boise. I'm going to go with the under 500 team. They're not what they were under Brian Harsin. They are not what they were under Chris Peterman. But I'm going to go with the Broncos and beat Wyoming at home on that blue field. I know Taylor Green struggled. I think he even's been injured a little bit too. Don't know if he's available. But Genty on the ground is big. I think they'll win in a dogfight 21-17.
Wyoming plays really well at home. They're the Utah of the Mountain West. They play really well too. They play really well at home, not that great on the road. I think they'll be good enough to beat Boise, though. I don't know. Yeah, I'll go. I don't know. I'll go 41-38.
Wow, that would be a lot of points. I would be shocked if there's that many points considering how Wyoming is on defense. But you could be right. It's going to be a good game, though. I'm looking forward to that one if I can catch a little bit of that game. I just think Boise will bounce back and get back to 500. They're still decent, and that's why they're favored, too. And like you said, Wyoming's not a good road team, but you could be right. That Marshall Coastal game's solid as well, actually. And I know a lot of people won't check it
Oh
out
yeah,
because
okay.
there's too many games on,
We'll
but I
talk about
like that
Marshall
one.
from like, yeah.
Marshall has not completely fallen off a cliff because they've lost to good teams. Marshall lost to James Madison, who's undefeated, ranked in the top 25. They lost to Georgia State, who's 6-1. And they lost to NC State, which is an ACC team. So it's not like Marshall's bad. And Coastal, they beat App State. I know App State isn't as good. Coastal isn't playing as well, but they're at home. Grayson McCall has been playing better lately, and I know the offense isn't as good with Tim Beck as they were with Jamie Chadwell at coach, but I'm going to go with Coastal to beat Marshall 31-28. I think they'll pull it out, especially with Marshall just can't get a win lately with all the tough teams they played. I think it's going to catch up to them. And thanks for being here, Steven. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Steven. Mm-hmm. Right. Washington should take
You have
care
a
of
pick on the
Stanford.
Marshall game?
I mean, I haven't been keeping it as close to con as like Mike and everyone else has, but I think Grayson McCall. I don't know. I trust in Grayson McCall. He's played it better, so
Me
I think
too.
we'll edge Marshall.
I'll
go 24-20 Marshall. Coastal. Yeah.
Should be good.
Yeah. Washington should take care of Stanford.
Yeah, they're favored by 26. I know Penix threw 2 picks in the last game, but I think he's going to bounce back, try to stay, on the top of that Heisman race. And Stanford just got blitzed by UCLA. I said it was going to be close. I said it was going to be a close game too, and they got destroyed.
I mean, hey man, like is Stanford's defense that much worse than USC's? Could UCLA do that to USC? Man, that would be.
Wow, that would be nuts. I don't know. I'll go with Washington to win 41-17.
Yeah, I'll go 42-10 Washington. Air Force should take care of Colorado State.
Yeah, I'll go with Air Force to win 31-14. Colorado State hasn't played as well lately. I mean, their quarterback's got 11 interceptions, a lot of yards, but too many mistakes. And Air Force, they punish you if you make mistakes because they hold the football and they control the time of possession. And they've been playing very disciplined football. I think Air Force will win.
Mm-hmm. And we have Tennessee and Kentucky. Kentucky, man, they're playing good, and then it all kind of fell apart. But still, probably one of the better teams in the SEC, along with Tennessee. Will the Alabama loss turn into another loss quickly for the Volunteers, or will Kentucky show that they're frauds?
I'm not going to lie. This is a game that I flip back and forth on all day trying to figure out who's going to win because you look at Kentucky. I knew that Florida win was going to be overhyped, and it was. By golly, it was. Because you talk about the fact they blew him out and Ray Davis for Heisman, and he put up all those yards on the ground. And people were saying Kentucky can beat Georgia. Kentucky might be the best team in the SEC. And then they fall back to earth. Get completely annihilated by Georgia. Makes Georgia look like the best team in college football for a weekend. And then Missouri beats them by 17 at Kroger Field. This wasn't at Mizzou. It was at Kentucky, and Missouri won by 17. Now you've got Tennessee playing. And I know that Kroger Field is not an easy place to play. It is tough. It's at night, and I do know Tennessee's coming off that loss to Alabama. Poor second half performance. And I don't trust Tennessee. Joe Milton has been too inconsistent. He has not had enough good games through the air to really inspire confidence. And I don't think Tennessee is necessarily running the football well enough to compensate for his lack of explosiveness through the air with Milton. So Tennessee is very inconsistent. I don't trust them, but I don't think Kentucky is that great of a team. Devin Leary has not played well. He is way worse than he was in NC State when he had the 35 touchdown, 5 pick season. He's struggling. And Ray Davis is good on the ground, but it's going to be harder for them to put up 290 yards like they did against Florida against Tennessee. Like I said, I don't trust either team, but I'll go with Tennessee to win 31-28. I think you're muted.
Dang it, man. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
This seems like a type of game that Tennessee, they're feeling bad for themselves after losing to Alabama. I think that Ray Davis gets enough rushing yards in there. Devin Leary makes a couple of throws. Joe Milton has 2 bad picks. I think Kentucky ends up winning this game 31-20 over Tennessee.
You could be right. You definitely could be right. Make the real happy and could get Kentucky back in the polls, but I don't know. I'm going Vols. I just feel like they might be a little bit too much for Kentucky, but should be a good game. I'll definitely be tuning into that one.
We have Ohio State and Wisconsin. Buckeyes riding high after their win over the Nittany Lions. Will they get caught in the trap at the camp?
Wisconsin just doesn't have enough offense, though. I mean, they're not bad. I mean, they're probably aesthetically the best team in the West. And what I mean by that is all the other teams, when they win ugly. When Wisconsin wins, sometimes it doesn't look too bad. It's still not pretty, but they look okay, and they definitely look like a team with the way Luke Fickell is trying to build that team. In the future, it could be better. I think they legitimately could be better. But they're not great right now, and that's the problem. They're not good enough right now to beat Ohio State. And I know Ohio State's had a couple of rough performances, but for the most part, when Ohio State has played a team that they're clearly better than, they've just blitzed them this season. Whereas if they're playing, a Penn State or a Notre Dame, it's close. But Wisconsin's not on either of those teams' levels. Camp Randall will be tough. It's at night. But Kyle McCord, he's already won in tough environments already this season. And I think he's going to do it again. I'll go with Ohio State to beat Wisconsin 35-10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the Buckeyes defense will just be too much. They could shut out Wisconsin, but I'll give them 10, 42-10. Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss should win.
Yeah. Colorado at UCLA is Deion prime time going to the Rose Bowl.
There's going to be a lot of points in this game.
There's going to be a lot of more Colorado fans than UCLA fans. It's just how it goes at the Rose Bowl. So it'll be a home game for Colorado.
Yeah, all those things are true, but there's going to be a lot of points in this game. Yeah. I mean, Colorado can't stop anybody. Stanford proved that. Stanford proved that a poor offensive team can have record-setting performances on offense against the Buffaloes. And I believe UCLA is going to do the same. Dante Moore is going to have a field day against that defense. And I know Shedeur Sanders, he's not getting talked about because Colorado is not ranked anymore. And their defense for Colorado is so bad that, they just can't stay in the national conversation. Even though with Deion, they're still somewhat in the national conversation, but not, for Pac-12 championship or anything like that or whatever. But Shedeur Sanders is playing well, but it's not enough. It's not enough for one guy. Caleb Williams is proving that at USC. It's not enough when you have one or two really good players, and that's it. In Colorado, it's the Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter show. Besides that, they just don't have a lot else going for them. UCLA has a good D-line. I think they'll get to Shedeur Sanders a few times in this game. And even though there will be a lot of Colorado fans there, I'm going to go with UCLA to win over Colorado 42-38. I think it'll be really close because Colorado's going to score. And it's probably one of those games UCLA's up by like two or three scores late. Colorado scores a couple to make it really close to the end like they did against USC. But I think UCLA will win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is Dante's coming out party, man. This is the big show for him. I think he'll put up numbers. I'm going to go 56-28 UCLA because UCLA's defense is good.
Yeah, it's better, and that's the thing. I think Colorado's going to score a good amount of points anyway, but you are right. UCLA's defense is going to be the key. And if they can hold Colorado to under 30 points, they should easily win this game. If they hold it to 35-38, still think UCLA will win because they're going to score points, but that's going to be the key. UCLA's defense is going to win in the game if they do win.
Mm-hmm. Especially their defensive line is going to get after Shedeur. Mm-hmm. We have North Carolina. Will one loss turn into two quickly for the Tar Heels?
Can't do this, North Carolina. College football playoff hopes they're this thin. I mean, you'd have to win out and be, really explosive doing it after losing to Virginia. And Virginia would probably have to get some wins to make the loss not look as bad for the team to have any shot. Most likely Carolina has no playoff hopes, though. But they can still win the ACC if they went out. Everything is not lost for North Carolina. They have not completely blown the season, even though it was an abysmal loss. North Carolina lost to Georgia Tech last season at home. That was the game that they blew it, and then they started to trail off. Is it going to happen again? They lost Virginia. Is it going to, like you said, 2 loss, 3 loss, 4 loss? Are they going to spiral out of control? I trust Drake May, though. Too many yards, too many touchdowns, and Georgia Tech has been playing bad. Really bad lately. Carolina has to bounce back if anybody's going to still think they're even any bit legit. I'll go with North Carolina to bounce back and win 35-24.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Georgia Tech plays better away from Bobby Dodd than at home, too.
Which is ironic.
Yeah. I'll go Carolina. They'll bounce back because they have Mac Brown's a good enough coach. I'll go 35-24 Heels.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully they do. It would be bad for North Carolina if they drop 2 in a row to teams that they should have beaten. That would be awful.
Mm-hmm. And we have the royal rivalry, Old Dominion Monarchs, James Madison Dukes at Bridgeforth.
Yeah, James Madison has been playing very underrated football this season. They're 7-0 for a reason. I know it's smaller competition, but they should be able to make a bowl game. Yeah. I mean, the rules, I understand that rules are rules, but it's insane. This is a good team. They made the transition, and they look good. They're great, and they're not going to make a bowl. It's terrible for the Dukes, but other than that, they're playing great football. They're playing inspired football, and I think that they're going to beat Old Dominion in this rivalry 31-21.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Duke's defense is very good as well. And I believe Jordan McLeod, that's his name, right? Yeah. He's been doing pretty well for them. I'm going to go for the Duke to win 38-21 over the Monarchs.
Yeah, Old Dominion is not a bad football team, so I think it will be competitive, and they've got some pretty decent wins this season, but James Madison just looks better all around. Could be a good game, though. Could be closer than people think, but James Madison should stay undefeated.
Mm-hmm. Will Washington State finally get off the schneid, or will Arizona State get their first Pac-12 win?
I don't trust Washington State anymore after what they've been doing. I mean, they got that win over Oregon State, and it's all gone downhill since. Cam Ward, though, still his stats look good. 2,217 yards, 15 touchdowns, 3 picks. I think the issue is Washington State's defense. I don't think it's good. Mm-hmm. I think that's been a big issue for the teams in the Pac-12 that have been upset a lot, like Washington State, USC, Colorado. It's because the defenses are poor. And I don't think Washington State's defense is as bad as those other 2 teams, but it's struggled. I mean, giving up 44 to Arizona should not happen at Martin Stadium. They were at home when they did that. That should not have occurred. I know Washington State only scored 6, but if they had lost like 17-6, it'd be like, okay, Cam Ward, the offense just bad that day. They gave up 44. I don't trust them anymore, like I said before, but they're favored by 6.5. Cam Ward is still too good. He's going to be the best player on the field. And Arizona State, it's in the desert. It's going to be tough because it's always weird in the desert, but they've only won 1 game. They've been close to winning a lot of games, but they haven't come through. I think Washington State will pull it out 34-27.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that Cam Ward will put on a show. And, I mean, I think Scattergood will get some rushing yards. That quarterback play at Arizona State's bad.
Definitely.
So I think they'll put up some points, but I'm going to go 31-24. Mm-hmm. And I just don't see Cincinnati winning.
Yeah, the Big 12 has had a lot of results that have not gone the way that I thought it would. So, I mean, this would just fit the billing, Cincinnati upsetting Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. But the way Oklahoma State's playing right now, they've got their quarterback in Alan Bowman. They've been playing much better football. And Emory Jones, very turnover prone with 13 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. They can't get out of their own way. They haven't been able to find a way to win. As long as Oklahoma State keeps playing the way that they've been playing the last couple of weeks, they should easily win and achieve bowl eligibility. I'll go with Oklahoma State to win 35-17.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the Pokes should control this game. Emory Jones will throw an interception or two. I'm going to go. This might have been close to what you said, 34-20 Oklahoma State.
Yeah, definitely. I had a different score, but it's very similar. I mean, I think that Oklahoma State, I said 35-17. I think that they'll win by around 2 to around 17 points, somewhere in that range, 14-17. Should be a good game early because I think Cincinnati will fight. That's kind of been their theme. They've looked decent early in games, but then they just kind of fade late. And I think that's what Oklahoma State will take over.
In a great Pac-12 after dark, Oregon State and Arizona. I'm excited for this one.
This right here might be, I know it's at night and it's on ESPN at 10:30, so it's its own time slot, and the people that stay up are going to watch, but this might be one of the most underrated games of the weekend because no one's going to be talking about it. People are going to be talking about those 3:30 games, and all that. This is a good game. Oregon State is a much better team at home. They're on the road, but they're not unable to win road games. It's not like they're incapable of winning road games, but they are a better home team.
$10 for this game?
And Arizona, you talk about the fact that after Noah Fafita's been put in the lineup, how much better that they've looked since then. And like you just said, $10 for this game is an absolute travesty. This game is worth a lot more than that. I mean, $30, $40 a day. I mean, $10 is great, but definitely this is a high-profile game. Arizona, if they win this game, this will be possibly the most well thought of Arizona's been in years. This would be huge for them. And they should have beaten USC. Definitely should have won that game. And they didn't. But then they beat Washington State. They just look so much better, like I said, with Noah Fafita in versus Jaden DeLaura, which is crazy because Jaden DeLaura was pretty solid last season, but he was just so turnover prone this year. But Noah Fafita, 5'8", 5'9", he's slinging it out there. And he's made Arizona's offense the most dynamic that it's been since you had Khalil Tate. It was Mr. October. It's the new Mr. October in Noah Fafita. And it's at home. The home crowd, they better buy up those $10 tickets. They got to show out for the Wildcats. I think this is legitimately going to be a great game. DJ Uiagalelei, he's been solid, but he's had inconsistencies. They do have a good back in Martinez. Oregon State, like I said, is better at home. But with all that being said, I do think the Beavers will pull it out. I think Arizona can win, and I really like the way that they've been playing, but I will go with Oregon State to win 31-28. This should be a great game, though.
Yeah, I believe this is the best Arizona team, probably since 2014 when they won the Pac-12 South with Rich Rod. And then they just fell apart after that. Rich Rod in there.
Decent the 1 year with Khalil Tate, though, and he was Mr. October. They were decent that year, but I know what you mean. Not as good as they were back in 2014.
Mm-hmm. Man, I remember when that year in 2014, UCLA had the Pac-12 South, and they just had to beat Stanford at home, and they blew it.
Unbelievable.
And then UCLA hasn't been good. It's since last year they're good though. Last year they were pretty good with DTR, but they weren't good for a while after that. And Arizona hasn't been that good either.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. But I think that they're gonna win. They're gonna. I don't really trust. Don't really trust Oregon State away from home.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with the Wildcats to win this game. I'm going to go 35-31 Arizona to pull it off in Tucson.
You could be right. I mean, because to your point, Oregon State's not a great road team, which I did mention. That's almost why I did pick Arizona. I was this close to picking the Wildcats, and they've looked a lot better, and I really like the way Noah Fafita's playing, and McMillan's a good receiver. I mean, they've got, some weapons. Cowing's good as well, Jacob Cowing. You talk about the fact, I just think that Arizona is just not good enough altogether, though. I think the defense is just not there. Oregon State's better. I go with the Beavers. Like I said, it's going to be good. It's going to be a really good game, but I'm going to go with Oregon State. You could be right. Like, I went with Utah over Oregon. That was my big one. You picked Arizona over Oregon State, so we got both picked some big home upsets in the pack.
The last game, UNLV and Fresno State.
Yeah, that's actually a decent game. I'm shocked UNLV's 6-1. When's the last time UNLV's been 6-1? It's been a long time since they've been decent. And Fresno State has not looked as good the last couple of weeks because Mikey Keene's been injured. I don't know if he's going to be back or not, but the backup quarterback, Logan Fife, is not terrible. He just isn't as good. But it's at home, though. UNLV's been better. Like I said, they've been decent this season, but I do think Fresno State's just more talented. I'll go with the Bulldogs to beat UNLV 34-20.
Man, these coaches never say if these quarterbacks are going to play or not, man. Every
Makes it
time
impossible.
I don't know, man. This is tough. I'm going to go – I'll pick Fresno. I mean, they're a 9-point favorite. I'll go Fresno 34-31, but UNLV could win. Their one loss is to Michigan. So –
yeah, which is definitely, you can't expect them to win that game the way that Michigan's been playing and everything we're going on over there. But, yeah, UNLV, like I said, shocked to see that they're 6-1. And you just never know with the quarterback situation because we do, the games early in the week and you just don't really know until sometimes game day. Like now that you have these injury reports in college football, you don't even know until the day of anymore. So it's crazy, but I'll go with Fresno State. I just think that they're going to be a little bit too much.
Yeah, they haven't beaten – I mean, UNLV hasn't really beaten any of the better Mountain West teams, although they did beat Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt's their best win because UTEP's awful, Hawaii's not good, Nevada's horrible, and Colorado State's not great either. So they haven't beaten anybody, to be fair. They haven't really won a good game. Vanderbilt's their best win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we could take a little look at the AP poll. But besides that, we can wrap it up.
Yeah, it's going to be a good week. There's not as many headline games. There's a few good ones, though. A few sneaky ones like there are every week. But not as many headliners, but I'm still looking forward to this week in college football for sure.
It puts a smile into my face to see that Notre Dame is ranked ahead of LSU.
Of course it does. Definitely. Brian Kelly's got to be below the Fighting Irish.
Yeah.
I think Notre Dame and LSU are by far the best two-loss teams, though.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people think we're going to play in a bowl game. And I don't think that Jane Daniels is going to play, but I don't think Sam Hartman's going to play either. So I'm a little nervous about that. But
yeah, I know why they don't play in bowls anymore. I get it. You want to protect, your NFL draft stock and all that. I totally get it. But it does stink that these major bowl games don't have the top QBs playing anymore and the top players. It's unfortunate, and it makes it harder to pick those games as well.
I don't know who's going to start for the Irish. If it will be Stephen Jelly or Kenny Minchie. Not sure which of the backups is going to start. Probably Steve, but we'll see.
That will be interesting.
Yeah, Kenny's probably going to start next year, though. So
definitely be something to monitor. What do you think about Georgia consistently being over Michigan? I understand it. I mean, they're not going to move Georgia below Michigan unless Georgia loses at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't want to look wrong. They don't want to their pride is too big. So. Yeah.
Alabama back in the top 10 as well, creeping back up.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I don't know. There's not a clear favorite this year, which makes the playoffs going to be a lot of fun this year. Hopefully the games are close.
I agree. I'm looking forward to it. I don't think that there is a clear favorite. I know some people would say Georgia or Michigan, but I still think that those teams are beatable. And there's at least 5 or 6 teams that have a chance to win it all, and that's going to be awesome to see what happens.
All right. Well, there's one thing I wanted to show you, but since it's not football related, we can just close out if you want.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm definitely excited about this week in college football. I really appreciate everybody for stopping by tonight. Like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Share the stream out on social media. But most importantly, thanks for being here, and really appreciate Will for coming on as well. We're definitely going to be doing this next week, if time permits, on WillND's channel. That's going to be a lot of fun, talking about all of these games and what happened in these results, and then talking about the next week's game. Is going to be awesome for sure, and a lot of these results are going to shake up the college football playoff race and the bowl games as well. But really appreciate everyone for being here. It was a great show, and definitely it's going to be a great week.